today with all the sexual misconduct discussions that are going on. I know that using my model will help the conversation happen in a much more effective way, so we can actually have a breakthrough this time, not just hit the wall and fall back again like we've done so many other times in the past when sexual misconduct has made it to the news. We haven't actually changed the paradigm. It continues, and so I'm hoping with this much energy behind it that we can really begin to have a more effective conversation. I myself have been through multiple ordeals with sexual misconduct in the workplace, as well as misogyny, even if it's not sexual, and then also was sexually abused as a child by my stepfather. So this is an important topic for me. And I know that my model will make a difference in the way conversations are constructed. Yeah. And so I wanted to be able to, I just did a program up in Northern Virginia last weekend about my model, and it was really well received. And I was thinking about inviting those same people to do an online thing so that, we could just have this conversation relative to current events and use the model that they just learned about. Right. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I just got some dust blown up because I was breaking down cardboard. So anyway, so I wanted to learn how this little system works, so that I could do it like how I remembered that you had done it. And you had told me at the time it was a fairly simple process, but I couldn't even remember the name of the software. Right. I haven't had any experience setting it up. I don't know what's involved, but it seems
so there's a couple things we can do. It's actually rather easy. I'll give you the basics, and then I'll talk you through some of the other things that I'm doing with it because they might be of interest to you. Yes. And
I will need to use graphics and things that so I'd have images that I'd want to be able to put into it.
You could, I'm actually recording this for you right now, and I'll send you a copy so that you actually will have the recording and you'll see the power of that. So when you're doing client consults, I like it for a couple of reasons. One, if I'm doing instruction that comes up organically, then you have that instruction. You go back and watch it. It's your video. Right. It's also a good reflection tool for me to make sure, to see if there are some places where I can improve my support and capacities as well,
Cool. Yeah.
So the tool is Zoom, the one that I'm using. There are many out there, but what you're wanting is a tool that allows you to do what's called a webinar.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you could find other tools. I just happen to like Zoom. Okay. For a couple of reasons. Google has Google Hangouts. You can use that. That's free. Zoom is free to do a call up to 30 minutes in length.
Oh, okay.
So you can just go on Zoom's website, zoom.com, and you can sign up, create an account for yourself. You should be able to do that pretty easily. Okay. And the interface is pretty easy. You have, you'll get a little icon on your computer, or you can go to the website and you can schedule a webinar. There's a calendar function, and it'll give you an invitation to send out. Okay. That explains to people you're doing a webinar, and you probably remember seeing that when we had the Wisdom School meeting. Right. It'll have a hyperlink to the room that we're using right now. It'll also have dial-in numbers that people can use. So what I like about that is it really accommodates everybody. Mm-hmm. If somebody's on the road, they can call in, or if they don't have stable internet, they can call in. It doesn't really discriminate. Unless you can't get to a phone. And then, I use the recording feature so that if people can't make that call, they can go back and listen to it. Right. I use it now in multiple ways. I use it for my master's courses that I teach. I do a live class once a week, so it's great. So everybody comes in. It kind of looks like the Brady Bunch, because there's like 16 people. I have one of my school building clients. We use it. She's actually teaching an online wisdom course, and not a wisdom course. It's a master's. Anyway, it's some of the ancient knowledge stuff. And I run the calls for her, and she's got like 30 people in the room. So, it sounds to me like if you're going to be doing something where you're having like I'm getting this intuitive sense of it's like a virtual town hall around that topic of sexual misconduct and how to approach it and
right. Yeah.
how to identify it and whatever. So the tool's great because it has features. If you look at the bottom of your screen right now and you just let your mouse run across the bottom, you'll see it says mute, video, invite, participants, share screen. If I click on share screen, I can I can choose my desktop and then share it with you. So right now you're seeing my desktop. And if I wanted to, showcase some stuff, I could open up Keynote.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
So this is a PowerPoint I'm working on for client service today.
Great graphic.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, I actually haven't stopped doing the school building work. In fact, it's really ramping up. I'm working on my second book, which is how to build a school.
Great.
So, so that's kind of a cool thing. So that would be useful for you. And like I say, the tool itself, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. What I tend to do is say to people, like, go try that out. If you feel that you can't figure it out on your own, I do offer consultations, and I can tell you what I charge for that. You could decide what works for you, but my guess is you can handle it. You can look. The other things to think about are so the main things would be you can call a meeting like this. You can schedule it. You can have a reoccurring meeting that happens like we did with the Wisdom School. I had it on the calendar for every Monday, and I didn't have to go in and keep scheduling it because it was there. And people, once they had that link, they just kept reusing that link. It's very useful. You can screen share, so you can show your content. You can record. Down at the bottom, we have a chat feature. So like I just open it up and people can be typing to you while you're teaching or talking.
So that's where they put their questions.
Right. That's what I just typed in right now. If you were to click on the chat box.
I see. Okay. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So I can, if I click, it sends a question to the group, to everybody that is online.
Well, you can, and you can also you see where it says everyone in the chat box. I could just open it up and I could type to just you.
Let's see. Oh, I see. Yeah, now I'm looking at it.
So you can do that. One of the things that, so at that free half an hour level, you can try it out. You could download it now and play around trying it with maybe doing some calls with family or friends just to get into it. See how you like it. $15 a month gets you unlimited calls.
Oh, yeah.
So the timings, you can have as many as you want in a month. I mean, there are some numbers, but the numbers are so large that you're never going to exceed that. I don't exceed it.
Right. Well, that sounds good.
So yeah, $15 a month.
Is it for that thing, or you just tell it if you want to stop if you were.
Right. You set it up with a reoccurring billing.
Right. And then you can stop it if you choose to.
You can.
Yeah.
You can. Cool. I'm not sure if there's a year's contract there or not. It's not I use it for all of my exploratory calls with potential clients. I use it with my master's students. I use it when I'm teaching my current clients. I mean, I use it just when people want to like get to know me and talk with me.
Well, I can see just using it to talk to my husband at night, too.
Yes.
Because, I mean, even though we could do it on the phone, we don't. But
well, the nice thing about this would be you could actually invite your kids or your grandkids in, too. So you could all talk.
That's right. That's such a cool idea. Yeah.
The other thing that I use it for is that, so for my online courses that I teach, I like to do an introduction of myself. So I literally just go into the room by myself and record it. The reason I do it that versus using like iMovie is because the interface is so simple. When I finish this call, it will start to download the file onto my computer, and it will the folder will be sitting right on my desktop when it's finished. And it's an MP4 file, which is a file that you can literally then attach to things. What I do with them is, and it stores them right on your computer, so you already have recorded file of your voice.
Okay, so then instead of like using having to do iMovie or some other thing. You could do this, and then you could pull that file into iMovie and put slides and stuff and make your own video, because you can cut back and forth to yourself talking and then showing the graphics, right?
Well, you could, but I mean, like today, I have a meeting scheduled with my clients, my school clients, and I don't know if they're going to be there. So I literally will do this. I will project my screen like that.
Whole lesson, like
there's a lesson, and I would walk through this and be like, okay, so the 3 questions I want you to know about when we're talking about school are you need to uncover for yourself. Who runs the school? Where does the curriculum come from? Blah, 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 blah. But you can actually see here, this would be, and you can see how nice that looks on your screen.
Yeah.
And I'm recording it right now. So if I'm by myself and I'm fairly composed, I can do a live take of myself teaching. And, and the benefit of that is that I don't necessarily have to go edit it and all that. So.
Right. And so now you're doing that with the video. Are you doing that with record or video? What does the stop video mean?
Oh, that's your video camera. Because I'm running the meeting, I actually had a button that said record.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that unless you were running the meeting. Now,
and so why do I see stop video? What would that be?
That's your video. Go ahead and click on it. It'll just turn your camera off.
Oh, it turns what you're seeing of me off.
Yeah, here, I'll click on stop video and you'll see what happens.
I understand
See, now you just see a photo of me.
Yeah, I see. Okay, cool. I understand it now. Thank you.
And now you see the live me. And so you can, it works both ways. When you're running a live call, you can, there's the ability to, when you click on manage participants, you can mute everybody.
Manage.
Which is really
participants.
You can mute them so that, and then you set up a protocol for, raising your hand, or, I'm going to talk for the next 15 minutes and then I'm going to unmute everybody and we'll have a discussion. The larger your group, the more you need to set up some kind of a procedure for, calling on people.
Right.
My book coach uses this tool, and she runs a meeting once a week for 2 hours. Where she takes, it's just all live Q&A about the book writing process. And her procedure is, you come into the call, she always announces the call and introduces herself, and date sort of says today is Wednesday, November the whatever today is, I don't know, 21st, 22nd. It's 10:14 a.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. And if you want it, what she does is, if you have a question, you have to type in the chat window, you have to type "inline, please."
You get in a queue. That's what
exactly. I would type "inline," and then she, on a little sheet of paper at her desk, she writes down the names of the people. And so then she calls on you. She say, "Okay, Davey, you're up first. What's your question?" And then you would unmute yourself, and then you would ask your question to her, and then she'd have dialogue with you. And in the meantime, everybody else is listening to that consultation. And what's super cool about that is that we learn a lot from listening to other people's questions. That's how she does it. I do a similar thing when I'm teaching online. I usually talk for a little bit and then I ask a question, and I just ask them. I can see them, so I ask them to raise their hands, and then I say, "Go ahead and unmute yourself, Davey. What was your question? What did you want to share?"
Right.
Now, the one other feature you might be interested in Zoom, knowing about that Zoom has, I pay $50 a month for my subscription to Zoom, and that is because there's an additional feature. So this is considered, what we're doing is considered a meeting, even though it's a webinar. It's a scheduled meeting that happens. It's online, but it's not being broadcast anywhere. It's just, it's being hosted by me privately with you.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody had the link, it is possible somebody could come into the room. But most of the time, these things are privately scheduled, and you have to have the link to come to the meeting.
Right.
Now, there is some validity, and there's some, depending on whether you're trying to sell your services, I don't know whether you're doing this pro bono or you're selling your services. But if you're starting to sell this quadernity model, there is some potential value in broadcasting live, either to YouTube or to Facebook, because you could potentially pick up clients that way. but you would have to think about the call in a different way because of the sensitive nature of your content.
Now, is that so? You pay the $50 to have that capacity? Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I can broadcast live. I haven't done it on YouTube, but I broadcast live every Monday at 1:00. Sometimes I'm talking to another author. Sometimes the last 2 weeks I've just been talking about my work because I'm practicing with my messaging and I'm just playing around to see what traction I can get and interest in the work by regularly talking about kids in school and that kind of stuff. I'll try to build some reputation with thought leadership, and that doesn't happen unless most people tend to do it through blogging. I'm just not that much of a blogger, and I don't know how many people really read blogs. I like the idea of podcasts, but I don't know that I have the tenacity to do all of the work that it takes to actually create a decent podcast because there's a lot of technology. So this has been my sort of alternative to that. It's really sort of a down and dirty, easy thing. So I could do Facebook Live by myself, but when I want to interview somebody, so like I could set up for you and I to have an interview on Monday, and it would I would set it up in Zoom online, and then when we got in here, I would click publish to Facebook, and it would go live on my Facebook page.
I see.
The recording would be there, so we could have a conversation about the quadernity model. And I would probably interview and say, "Well, talk with me about how would I use that with kids? Would that help kids?" I mean, in fact, if you want to do that, we could do that sometime. It might be kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
By the way, I do want to give you some feedback that it was so super powerful that literally that the single statement of I am a school builder. There has been absolutely no ability to escape that.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear
which is really good.
Yeah.
I have 2 school building clients, and I'm running a beta program of the school building process and writing a book about it at the same time. So, cool. And I had a chance to go to a conference in Toronto. I was going just as a participant, but they had a contest they called it their moonshot prize. Was so what is your moonshot? What is that?
Yeah.
So mine was that I wanted to build 100 micro schools in the next 20 years. Help build, not singularly build.
Right.
And create an event for kids that I'm calling the Superhero Summit. So it's a gathering of spiritual, creative kids to help them really figure out what they're up to, what they can do with their lives, and it'll be a gathering once the schools are up and running too. It'll be a gathering of the schools.
Yeah.
So I ended up being a finalist. So I got to pitch my moonshot to 3,000 people in Toronto, which was awesome because it's basically on a stage in front of 3,000 people. I said I'm a school builder.
Yay! So when you say your moonshot, and then the first thing you said, just to give you feedback, was I want to do this. So remember the I want phrase is a proclamation of its absence.
Ooh.
So be careful about using the word I want. So what you would do instead is say, I see myself doing this, you see, or you would say, I can do this, because what we did in that process that we all did together, we converted our I wants to our I cans. And that happened because what we did was we took a little bit to visualize what it would be like if the things that we were saying we wanted, we already had, because we had removed the obstacles, the I needs. So if we just imagine ourselves not having obstacles and actually having fulfilled those desires, then we move into that state of being, of already having had it. So what we're doing is we've realized it in potentia, but not in actuality yet. So the process becomes just that of crystallization. We move it from the potential state because now you can feel yourself in it as though it's already happened, and therefore you can do it. So it becomes an I can instead of this I want to do it, which means it's somewhere else. It's it's not yours yet, because the wanting, whenever you want, it indicates a deficit.
I, I'm so appreciative. I am so appreciative of that, because I know the power that this stuff has.
Yes, the words are so important.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
yourself.
it's funny because your model, it's like, it's the simplest.
It is. It's so
term.
simple.
I mean, it reminds me very much of, it's not the same thing, but it's a similar simplicity to like Don Miguel's 4 agreements. You know, you could spend your whole life chewing on those.
That's true. But this model, the quadrinity model, I developed the goal setting aspect out of the model itself. But the model is, really the fundamental unit of all relationships. And so therefore it plays out in everything, in every entity, in every dynamical system that there is. And so when we learn that fundamental interaction between two mingled in systems or processes, or it can be the male-female dynamic, it can be any two things, and then they interact on 2 dimensions, which would be the denser, more physical, and the one that encapsulates the more etheric level. So I call that the metaphysical. So the physical and the metaphysical dimensions are where those 2 intertwined, and culture, archetypally they're considered male and female. So the male and female processes, they interact in the physical level in one way, and they interact in opposite direction in the metaphysical level. And when you see that little, flow of like a figure 8 infinity, and then you realize that all those 4 parts have to be accounted for, and for what's happening in the sexual misconduct realm is we're just looking at the 2 lower quadrants.
I was going to say it's the I need and I want stuff.
Yes, the lower quadrants are always, it's the effect of one of, and it's the physical effect. The female is actually at the effect of something that preceded what's happening. And then the male is at the cause of something that has repercussions. And so there's, it can be the physicality and the consciousness, or it can be, in this case, it's actually females and males, just happens to be, that works out that way. But what we're missing in the conversation is what precedes the female being a victim, culturally, the status that, puts that into play. And then what happens after the effect from the male using his power unwisely is that they actually get encouraged to continue. It's hidden. There's a conspiracy to hide it and to protect them and to pay it off and what have you. And those 2, the things in the upper quadrants are mingled in, so it perpetuates it. It starts it back up, you see. So what is the after effect becomes the thing that enculturates it and brings it back down again.
Yeah, I'm thinking your graphics when you're talking about that stuff.
Yeah, you need the graphics. But in other words, what we're doing is thinking of a female as a victim and a male as a perpetrator, and what kind of punishment do we need to give them? That's all the conversation's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And see, we're
instead of getting people to understand how it takes 2 to tango.
Well, we have to think about the cultural aspects of it. How long that we've had a patriarchal society, how long power is used. It's not even just sexual, it's a misuse of power, and it's the phallus, and it's the, there's all kinds of archetypal things that go into this. It's much a deeper and broader conversation than just looking at these 2. But we do that in science, we do it in everything. We look at what we can see, and we don't look for those missing 2 quadrants. If we put the 4 quadrants together, now we have a holistic picture that's going to provide us the solutions to a breakthrough to a new paradigm. But if we just don't discuss those, we're just going to keep iterating the process and failing at making the big change stick,
Cool.
So I have, because of my model, I have the model. I have the comprehension of the problem because I've been at the effect of that problem, and I'd like to be at the cause of a solution for it, you know, and to use this model that's been given to me through my dreams to affect a solution, to get the conversation go in a new direction. You know, it's not just about grouping together every man that's ever had misconduct. They're all different stories. They all have different, you know, you can't just lump them all together and fire them all. And, you know, it's not going to work to do any of that. In fact, it'll backfire on us women. So we need to have a holistic vision of what it is we're dealing with here. We do have an opportunity. This is a crisis opportunity. You know, we're sitting right on the crux of the matter, and we're either going to have a breakthrough or we're going to break down again, and we'll be back in the same boat.
So are you working towards like building a speaking platform, you know, with your model, and then this being the content that you're...
Well, this is just one way to use it. The same thing I did with the I need, I want, I can, I am. I made a way to use the model for goal setting. This is a way to use the model for enhancing the conversation about sexual misconduct and misuse of power. But the model itself can be used in every field of research, in every kind of industry, business, whatever, because it's just the simple foundational dynamics. And so most of us middle-aged people, who are the people predominantly in power nowadays, we went to school and learned linear thinking and local cause and effect relationships. And we don't understand yet. It's not natural to us to think in ways of non-local and causality and non-linear effects of things. We don't do that naturally, but we better gear and learn how to do that, because that's the way the world is.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have a whole book that I've been writing online as an open access blog book. It's very comprehensive. I'm on the home stretch now with writing, you know, finishing up that book. So it's, you know, if you have any interest in just glancing at it, it's quadernity.blog. So I think even quadernity.com should take you there. It's supposed to forward it over there. But anyway, it's just, it's been a big process. I've been going through the dreams for 18 years. And, you know, just in the last 4 years writing the book, you know, so.
Really cool. Well, I think you'll like Zoom as a tool to use for getting it out there in a more public way, especially for not having to do something in a location.
Yeah, that's the thing, because they invited me to Northern Virginia to give this talk, and it's all fine and good, but some people were traveling, and, you know, I just think that the people who really got it at that fundamental level want to have practice in seeing how it can be used in multiple domains, you know, and so having those people be able to get on from the comforts of their home for an hour and have a chat about it, I think is a way to keep it going, you know, to keep those people.
Well, so what I'll tell you is go ahead and give it a try. Let me know if you need support. I do offer that. And I actually hear so many potentials in what you're doing for building some online coursework around this. Truthfully, Davey, for charging people for your, you know, for that work, it's been my experience, especially lately, that I'm seeing better results with charging. You know, the clients that I have right now around school building are actually paying for the services. So there's a different, I'm getting a different result from.
Oh, sure, of course, because people, you weed out the ones that are not going to follow through. I mean, people usually, if they pay, then they mean they're serious enough to at least attempt to follow through, or people do something for nothing. Yes, but and the people, you know, I did earn money for going to Northern Virginia. And
if you want to be able to do that work online, and you want to transfer the work and start to advertise it that way, those are also some supports that I can offer as well. But I think right now, the thing that would be of benefit to you is to just, you know, get yourself an account at Zoom and set it up and just practice with your husband or your kids, grandkids, and then try it out with a group of people. It's really not that difficult.
Yeah.
Technology-wise, it's actually pretty easy.
It looks like it. I get it now. I couldn't even remember the name of the system that you used. That's why I was reaching out for you to,
Well, the cool thing is we actually just used the tool.
Yes, we used the tool, and we both gave each other some good advice.
Thank you so much. Well, you know how to get a hold of me. If you need any support, so let me know. And I would love to hear how it goes. Once you do your first Zoom call, let me know how that turns out for you.
And so then in the future, the things that you could consult me regarding are if I wanted to start doing online course work and stuff like that. That's great. And so what's your fee? Because I'm sure it's worth it.
So I don't recommend this. I do like an hourly, and that I charge $250. But you end up getting 2 hours, because I always schedule 2 hours, because I make sure it's the time getting prepared for you, but it's also the time to follow up with you for you to ask additional questions. But what's more useful is I do. Now I have to stop and think. What is it? I offer a package of 10 hours for $1,000, which is a heck of a lot better of a deal. I like that better because we get a lot more done. But, anyway, I really have the single hour price the way that I do, because I don't find that people are actually quite as successful. So it's set to kind of discourage that.
Okay, cool.
But that's an option, and it's really 2 hours. It's not. I can't usually get the work done in an hour. And with setup and follow up with you, that wouldn't, So it's $250 for just a single hour, but it's $1,000 for 10 hours of all of the work that you would need.
And do you have kind of like an outline, like, I know it wouldn't be a brochure, but something that you send people that kind of breaks down what you do for that?
I have a website, but the truth is, Davey, everything I do is individualized for every client. So I would talk with you about what you wanted to
talk about it ahead of time. Okay.
We would talk. The first meeting would be your goal setting, and then I would recommend the tools that we would use. And my strategy is always to use as few tools as we can to be the most effective, so that you are able to. Unlike a lot of people, I don't set stuff up and then run stuff for people. I teach people how to use the tools themselves.
Right, sure.
Because most of the tools are actually rather easy. Now, some people don't want that. Actually, there are a lot of people out there who want to pay somebody to set up their website for them, or schedule their meetings for them, or run their whatever for them. And that's not
your idea. Okay. Well, I'll let you go. Okay. And thank you so much for this little bit of time. I really appreciate it. And I think I'll be able to figure out what I need to do in the immediate realm.
I think so too. And
forward,
don't be afraid to play with it. You really can't break anything.
Okay.
Cool. And I will email you a copy of the recording.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Bye.
Thanksgiving.
You too. Bye.
Bye. How do I stop?